Hello and good morning and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host Owen, guys, bringing you your daily update on Glasgow Rangers, your team every single day. And like I always say, guys, this is a channel run by the fans for you, the fan. If you want all your daily content, if you want your Rangers update, if you want your daily fix of the Jers, then you need to hit that sub button. You need to ring that notification bell. And guys, you know what? If you can give the video a like, it does help out. Well, we've got a lot of news to get through this morning. We're going to talk about former Rangers player. That sounds weird to say. Scott Arfield, former Rangers player Scott Arfield. Does sound very strange to say, doesn't it? Obviously, given how much that Scotty has given to this club, describing him as an ex-Rangers player does seem a bit bizarre. We're going to talk a little bit, obviously, about Dijon Sterling as well, who has been the subject of some column inches over the last couple of days. Obviously, Dijon signed in the past couple of weeks. The Jack Butland deal was confirmed yesterday. Obviously, we'll mention that briefly. We're also going to talk a little bit about Rangers' possible European Champions League opponents, which I alluded to on the short that I released yesterday. We've also got some news about Tony Goals himself, Antonio Colak, kicking goals over the weekend. And just bits and bobs, lots of bits and bobs to do with the club and to do with the channel as well. The channel is doing so fantastically well, guys. Phenomenal growth over the last 101 days, up to, I think it was 1,620 subs at the time of recording, guys. So thank you very much for your phenomenal support. Let's get straight on with the news. I'm going to talk about a possible channel membership scheme at the end of this video, so hang on for that if you're interested in becoming a member of the channel. Well, let's start off by talking about the guy that we signed effectively from Chelsea. You know, obviously he came on a free transfer, and that is Dijon Sterling. Now, former Rangers midfielder Alex Ray, obviously hard man himself, has been talking about Dijon Sterling. He has described Dijon Sterling as a great addition to, and his words, Mick Beale's squad at Ibrox. That is how he referred to the manager, as Mick Beale. Now, he's talked a little bit about, obviously, James Tavernier's defensive deficiencies, which may have been slightly blown out of proportion in the past years. But you know what? I suppose James Tavernier is not exactly known for his rattling tackles, is he? Or his outstanding defensive abilities. But the Rangers captain, someone I really love, obviously 100 goals, is quality, guys, is absolute quality. Now, Dijon Sterling, who was signed on a free transfer from Chelsea, certainly promises to give the team a different dimension to Tav. Alex Neil described last season's Stoke City loanee as one of the best 1v1 defenders he has come up against in his managerial career. Now, Sterling doesn't have, obviously, Tav's set piece ability, but, certainly against a certain opposition, Sterling has searing pace. He has got a good positioning, and has certainly got tactical flexibility. And that pace is something that, that Sterling uses certainly to get himself out of trouble and also to cause trouble at the other end of the pitch. The 23-year-old has even been labelled by some, due to his physical stature and where he's come from and how he's come to the club, as the new Calvin Bassey. And, certainly if Sterling was to end up leaving Rangers for 20 million like Bassey did, then that would be absolutely superb, because obviously he would have had a quality career for the club, and it would go down as an inspired piece of business by Michael Beale. Alex Ray talked about, obviously, the transfer business that had been done so far, and said that he was pleased that Michael Beale is getting his work done early. And, he says that, obviously, that Sterling has already been dubbed the new Calvin Bassey. Ray went on to say, it's vital to shape up the first team squad as quickly as possible. I like the fact Dijon Sterling has been brought in. When I was at Reading last season as an assistant coach, we came up against Stoke City. Dijon caught my eye. He's powerful and has an unbelievable pace. If he hits the ground running, then it will be a great sign of what's to come for Rangers. The fact as well that Sterling obviously can play a number of different positions certainly gives Michael Beale great flexibility with this player. And obviously Rangers did add to the signing of Sterling with signings of Kieran Dowell and now the signing, obviously, of Jack Butland. But Sterling is certainly someone who, you know, is very much been very highly rated and obviously does seem to be a quality player that we have acquired from Chelsea. The fact that he did actually turn down a new contract at Chelsea to come to Rangers is remarkable indeed. And, you know, he talked about the faith that, you know, the faith that the manager had already shown in him, the fact that he was happy with what the manager had said to him, and the fact that, you know, he finally felt at home somewhere as well was a fantastic thing to hear from Dijon. So, guys, let me know what you think of what Alex Race had to say about Dijon Sterling. Do you agree with that? And what are your hopes for Dijon for the new season? Okay, before we move on to some other more serious bits and pieces, let's have a little bit of light-hearted news here on Glasgow Rangers Nation. Let's talk about Tony Goals. There he is, Antonio Colak himself, marrying his other half. Yes, that's right. Antonio Colak has married his other half, Diana Pavlovich. Apparently, they got married in France this weekend. Colak, obviously, who is a Croatian international, was actually born in Germany, has German nationality, has dual nationality, but has obviously tied the knot even with his other half, Diana Pavlovich. So congratulations to Antonio Colak on your marriage. Fantastic. Well done to Antonio and his other half. His better half, I don't know. I never met the woman, so I can't possibly comment. Okay, so what's next, guys? Let's talk a bit about former Rangers player Scott Arfield. That's so weird, isn't it, to hear that as, you know, former Rangers player. Man, it still hurts. You know what? I'm going to miss Scotty. You know, Scotty contributed so much to this club in his time here, and you know what? I would have loved him to have had another year's contract. Of course, I would love Scotty to bits, but obviously it was time for him to move on. Now, Scotty did apparently sing at a friend's wedding a song that he'd made up about the bride and groom. A phenomenal performance, available on some social media platforms. If you go onto TikTok, I know it's on there. I can't put it on here because of the copyright rules, but Scott Arfield sang for one of his good friends, and did quite a good job playing the guitar and singing. You know, a hidden talent clearly there from Scotty. Now, that's not the only reason Scott Arfield is in the news. Apparently, he has submitted a plan to open a pub that is near to Ibrox Stadium. Apparently, according to the news this week, Scott Arfield has applied for permission to transform 2 vacant units into a pub. The buildings on the corner of Copeland Road and Mafeking Street are just yards from Ibrox Stadium. An application has been submitted to Glasgow City Council to turn these into a pub, and apparently Arfield is behind that proposal. So obviously Scotty wanting to maintain a presence within the city of Glasgow and obviously near to the club that he loves so much. And we know that he loves Glasgow Rangers from what he has been saying, obviously in interviews that he has given since he left the club. But absolutely fantastic news from Scotty. And, you know, like I said, it's weird, isn't it, to call him former Rangers player Scott Arfield. Very strange indeed. Now, obviously, the main news yesterday was the finalisation of the deal to sign Jack Butland. Obviously, Butland, who is a free agent this summer, has signed for Rangers for absolutely nothing, for zip. And he joins the club on a 4-year contract, apparently, through to 2027, at which point he'll be 34 years old. I think that's very much in the line with thinking from a lot of people who've talked about the Butland deal, talked about the need, I think, to perhaps have him for 4 or 5 years, and the fact that he obviously that is a reasonable time for a goalkeeper. Even a couple more years after that is entirely possible, with obviously goalkeepers playing an awful lot longer than outfield players. And obviously that was the main news yesterday. Check out the video that we dropped yesterday on the channel on Jack Butland signing. It is on there. There's also a short as well about his contract. Now, obviously, one striker that has departed Ibrox this summer has been Alfredo Morelos. Obviously, Alfie had some great times at Rangers. He had some not so great times at Rangers. Obviously, the sendings off, and perhaps the way he's played in the last 12 to 18 months. But certainly some memorable goals scored by Alfie. During the Europa League run, during his time in Europe, playing for Rangers in Europe. Couple of goals, not a load, but a couple of goals against that lot from across the city. Some of his antics against that lot from across the city, obviously, as well, will go down along in the memory. Now, there has been a whole plethora, what's the word? What do you call a collective of strikers? There's got to be a word, isn't it? A covenant, a flock, a pride of strikers. I don't know. There's got to be something. If anyone knows what it is, pop it in the comments. What do you call a collection of strikers? Prima donnas? Who knows? Anyway, obviously there's been a whole plethora, a whole quaggle, a whole flock of strikers linked with a move to Rangers, with Rangers obviously needing a striker. We've had Anastasios Divakas, we've had Hadji Wright, we've had Josh Madger, Mattia Fritgan, Sam Lammers, Cyril Dessers. My God, the list goes on, and it is numerous. You know what? If I was to sit here, I think, and list off the entire list, I think I'd be here. I think you'd be here all day, and so would I. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that to you. I know you've got more important things to be doing than listening to me waffle on about strikes. But we are going to do a podcast tonight called Every Man and His Dog, talking about the transfer links, the rebuild, and obviously the transfers so far into Rangers. Now, another name that has been recently linked with a move to Rangers is someone who they feel could replace Alfredo Morelos, someone who is quite similar in his stature and the way he plays to Morelos, and that is West Bromwich Albion striker Karlan Grant. According to Mirror journalist Darren Whitcoop, West Brom will listen to offers for striker Karlan Grant this summer. Grant has championship admirers, while Scottish side Rangers are apparently also registered an interest in the striker. Grant signed a 6-year deal when he joined West Bromwich Albion for 15 million in 2020, but he can now leave Albion for a much reduced fee. Apparently, Karlan Grant is valued at 4.5 million euros, which is around £4 million by Football Transfers. He has 3 years left on his current deal. And it's thought that, obviously, if you want to secure his services, you will have to pay 4 million. Like Morelos, obviously, Grant didn't have a great 2022-2023 season, with West Brom missing out on the playoffs and Grant not playing particularly well. In 21-22, Grant netted 18 goals and grabbed 6 assists across 44 championship games. That's an impressive 24 goal involvements in 44 games, demonstrating how effective he can be when on form in front of goal. Now, there are some experts, some analysts, and we love an expert, don't we? We love an expert who knows everything. Who knows nothing. Suggesting that Karlan Grant could reproduce that form in Scotland, and Rangers could be a possible destination. Apparently, he's also been loaded as a clutch player for scoring vital goals. In total, 77 goals and 22 assists in 274 matches isn't the most prolific strike rate in the world. However, his ability to float between centre forward role and coming out to the left wing and the right wing makes him that hybrid player that Michael Beale really likes. So could Karlan Grant be another name worth looking at, worth thinking about in terms of signings for strikers for Rangers? Now, obviously, there was a big link yesterday to that Nigerian striker Cyril Dessers. For those of you who don't know, this is Cyril Dessers, who scored, I think it was one in 3 games for Cremonese, relegated Cremonese. And it was 10 goals he got for Cremonese last season, 28 years old. Physical, strong, quick striker who has also been linked, and that was mentioned on yesterday's video. But could Karlan Grant be another name that is linked with Rangers and could possibly do a job for Rangers going forward? Certainly someone that Michael Beale may well be looking at as a possible striker signing, especially given the fact that it is rumoured that Rangers will be bringing in 2 to 3 strikers this summer. Now, let's touch on the UEFA Champions League. Now, obviously, as we know, Rangers have got to qualify for the UEFA Champions League. They have got a third qualifying round and then a final qualifying round to negotiate if they're going to make the Champions League group stage. Now, I know there are some of you out there that are slightly scarred by what happened this past season in the Champions League group stage. But I personally, my personal opinion is that Rangers as a club need to be playing in Europe's top competition. You know, we need to be there, not only for the fact that obviously the Champions League brings with it a whole boatload of money, but, you know, in terms of attracting players, retaining players, in terms of, you know, putting your status there as one of Europe's top clubs, the Champions League is the place to play. Now, after obviously a lot of leagues have now concluded over the weekend, it's become obvious who Rangers could face in that third qualifying round before the final qualifying round for the group stage. The four teams that are now in Rangers' way from progressing in the tournament, Rangers could draw any one of these teams, are Sturm Graz of Austria, who finished runners-up to champions Red Bull Salzburg, TSC Topola Bacala. Yes, that is a funny name for a team, but they are a Serbian team, apparently, by all accounts. The third team on that list is Dnipro. Dnipro are a Ukrainian team. Obviously, won't be able to play in the Ukraine, given what is currently going on there. And the fourth and final team is a team that, you know, in with a chance of winning the Belgian title right until the very end. Apparently, the Belgian title changed hands 2 or 3 times between 2 or 3 teams on Sunday. And Genk, now of the Belgian league, are another team that could possibly be in Rangers' way to progress. So, you know, look, there is the threat from those teams. Of course, there is. There is a threat from Sturm Graz. There is a threat from the TSC. There is a threat from Dnipro. There is a threat from Genk. But hopefully, a squad built by Michael Beale over this summer, a squad with a full pre-season behind it, a squad that is being blended together with the coaching abilities, you know, with the coaching tactical nous of Michael Beale, should have enough to beat one of these 4 teams, whoever is put in front of them, to at least get through to that final qualifying round, where Rangers are likely to face a much tougher task with the likes, obviously, of Marseille and PSV Eindhoven waiting for them should they progress. Obviously, an interesting tie it would be, certainly against that Marseille team, a chance to perhaps gain some modicum of revenge for the past, but certainly interesting opponents nonetheless for Rangers in that third qualifying round. Well, guys, that's pretty much it in terms of the news that is currently going around. Obviously, the big thing is the links. There's constant speculation. And like I said, come and tune into our podcast tonight, Every Man and His Dog, which is a little bit about, obviously, the fact that Rangers have been linked with every man and his dog and his cat and his goldfish and his brother Steve. Okay. Last thing, guys, before we finish for this morning, I'm thinking of launching a membership scheme for the channel, like other channels have, called the Glasgow Rangers Nation Loyal. It will be a 1-level membership. You'll get badges by your names, priority reply, perhaps for comments, some members only stuff, things like that. The offer will be detailed once it goes out, but it will be 99 pence only per month. You know, I hate asking for money. That's not my thing. You know that. And I will still be providing a whole plethora and mass of videos free of charge to you, Glasgow Rangers fans. But let me know what you think of a possible membership scheme for the channel. Your chance to show your support for, obviously, for Victoria and I, obviously, as well as all the other social media places you can find the channel. On Twitter, at GRN1872, on Instagram, Glasgow Rangers Nation, on Facebook, Glasgow Rangers Nation Official. Please remember the official. On TikTok, Glasgow Rangers Nation. And obviously our email account is glasgowrangersnation@gmail.com. You can even buy Victoria and I a coffee at www.buymeacoffee.com. Well, guys, as always, absolute pleasure speaking to you here on Glasgow Rangers Nation. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears to the ground, guys. There will be more news, views, and videos from the channel. All you've got to do is keep on looking out for it. Guys, always remember, I'm about to speak to you here on the channel. We are the people.